Today we celebrate the third Sunday of Advent, traditionally known as Gaudete Sunday, or the Sunday of Rejoicing, because we've made it 3/4 of the way through the Advent season, and we're rapidly approaching the joyous event of Christ's birth. And so the theme in today's readings and in the Psalms is this theme of joy. And the gospel today, of course, interprets what that joy is supposed to be all about. St. John the Baptist tells the people that the Messiah is arriving soon. Then this was the most joyous news for the Jews, right? Because they've been waiting centuries for this moment, for the coming of Christ. And so we too, once again, as we approach the Christmas season, are supposed to be reminded of the importance of joy in our lives. But what is joy? Because sometimes it can seem like joy fluctuates in life, sometimes going, sometimes coming. But also, there are so many people out there that don't have joy in their lives, that are miserable. And I don't mean people that are suffering. I mean people that are angry, that are unhappy, that hate life and are dissatisfied with everything. And they don't even know why. They don't even know what would make them happy. Why does joy seem to be so elusive, so hard to attain and hold on to? Well, would you believe me if I said it had everything to do with love? More specifically, how we love and what we love. Because joy is a result. It is an effect produced when we attain or experience something that we love. So for example, if a family member that we love very much, we've been separated from them for a very long time, when we are reunited with them, when we see them again, we experience joy because we love them. And when we experience what we love, we experience joy. If you love camping or hiking in the wilderness, then experiencing this is going to bring you joy. If you don't love something, if you hate it, then experiencing it is not going to bring you joy. For example, I hate vanilla ice cream. Vanilla ice cream does not bring me joy. I love chocolate ice cream. Chocolate ice cream brings me very great joy. Love is the secret ingredient to joy. And the more profound and the deeper that love, the greater the joy that can result. But here's the catch. God created us. He created our nature in a very specific way. God hardwired us so that when we love things we shouldn't, or love things that are bad for us, or love them in the wrong way, we may experience a momentary delight from them, but it quickly fades away. And it leaves us empty, bitter, miserable, and without joy. And God created us this way so that when we experience things that we shouldn't, when we love things that we shouldn't, we would get the hint to avoid them. The misery that would result is supposed to be a warning for us that we are on the wrong path. When we seek and desire things that are not good for us, mainly those things that do not lead to God, the result is sadness. And all you have to do in order to see the truth in this is look at the world we live in and so many people who are miserable and dissatisfied with their lives because of what they seek and value. For example, the many famous celebrities who have killed themselves through drug overdose. People like Marilyn Monroe, Judy Garland, Whitney Houston, Heath Ledger, and many, many more, who had money, popularity, affirmation, fans that idolized them, and they could get anything that they wanted in this world. Yet they tried to escape their world through drugs to such a desperate extent that they killed themselves. Another example are the suicide rates that are currently skyrocketing. Did you know that in the United States, suicide is one of the top 3 causes for death between the ages of 10 and 34? One of the top 3 causes. And this age group is one that we would consider the prime of life. Yet they are dissatisfied with their very lives. Another instance are the divorce rates in America. Currently, 40% of marriages, almost half, end in divorce because these people are not happy in their marriages. They are dissatisfied with their spousal relationships. Another example, the whole transgenderism ideology, which has to do with not being satisfied with the gender God gave you, the gender that you have. As well with the whole identify as whatever you want mentality. It once again has to do with this dissatisfaction with your very self, your very identity. All of these people are not happy people. They do not have joy in their lives. They are angry. They are bitter. They are miserable. They are dissatisfied with their very lives because they seek, they value, they love those things that do not lead to God. And because of this, when they experience those things that they love, it is without joy. What is it that those famous celebrities and those people that committed suicide, what was it that they loved and valued in their lives? Those people that were divorced, what is it that they loved and desired in their marriages? Those people that identify whatever they want to be, what is it that they love and value in themselves? When we love things incorrectly, we experience as a consequence misery. But God uses that misery as a warning that you are on the wrong path. And we are told this constantly in the Gospels by our Lord, right? How many times we're told the things of this world fade away. They do not bring happiness, that you cannot love God and the things of this world. And as long as all we value and seek in this life are the things of this world, money, material possessions, the maximization of pleasure, popularity, and the like, we will never have joy. You know, I've met a lot of people that are very bitter. And they're bitter because they've been miserable all their lives. And they think that if they just had what everyone else had, then they could be happy. If they had so-and-so's money, if they had this person's family upbringing, if they had so-and-so's opportunities, then they could finally have joy. If they had everything that everyone else had, then they could find happiness. But what they don't realize is that even if they had all of those things, they still would be miserable. Because their lack of joy is not a result of what they don't have. It is a result of what they value and seek in their lives, because they have placed their love in the wrong things. Joy is all about what we love and how we love. And it is precisely because of this that we are able to have joy in the midst of pain, in the midst of suffering, in the midst of sacrifice, because love can coexist with suffering and sacrifice. And oftentimes, it's in circumstances such as these that entail great sacrifice that there is even a more profound and greater love involved, which means that it is possible to have an even greater joy result in these times of suffering. And a beautiful example of this is the story of a young woman who lived at the end of the 13th century by the name of Saint Margaret of Castello. Now, Margaret was born into a wealthy and noble family, but she was born blind, a hunchback, and partially crippled in her legs. And because of this, her parents were embarrassed that she was alive. She was embarrassment to her family because she was so defective. And so they kept her birth a secret until she was about 6 years old, when her father at this time built a room that he attached to their family chapel, where Margaret would live out her life. But this room had no door. It only had a window, which she could be fed, and a priest would be allowed to come and hear her confession, give her Holy Communion, and catechize her in the faith. And Margaret lived this way until she was 16 years old. At that time, her parents then had heard of a close-by shrine where many miracles were taking place, especially miracles of healing. And so they decided to graciously remove Margaret from her prison and take her to this shrine, hoping that she would be healed. And guess what? She wasn't. And when her parents found out that, or discovered that their prayers were not going to be answered, that Margaret was not going to be healed, they left her there. They abandoned her. God made her that way. God can take care of her. And because of this, Margaret, a 16-year-old girl who was disabled and never exposed to the outside world except for that one Catholic priest that would come to her, was turned into a beggar on the streets. But because of that, Margaret spent her time with the other beggars, with the poor, with the homeless, and she would teach them about her great love of God, which animated her own life. And she did this until she was found by an order of Dominican nuns, which she later then became a third order Dominican and spent the rest of her life ministering to those people that suffered and had nothing. But it's said that there are two things that characterized Margaret. The first was her joyfulness that caused so many people to cherish her, that when she died, the townspeople insisted that Margaret be buried in the local church as all the saints were. But the second thing that characterized her was that Margaret could not understand why people would pity her, because she always saw her suffering as a way of imitating our suffering Lord. And she had such a great love for Christ that it always brought her enormous joy when she could imitate him in any way, even if it meant imitating him in his suffering. No one here has it as bad as Margaret. You want to talk about pain, you want to talk about suffering, you want to talk about family abuse, being dealt a bad hand, Margaret takes the prize. But she was still able to experience joy, because in the midst of it all, she still had great love. If Saint Margaret can have joy, we can all have joy. If you do not have joy in your life, the problem is not everyone else, but instead, it is a sign that you have not yet learned to love as you should.